Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to On Deck. While you're here, go ahead, like this video, and subscribe. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about this series that the Braves are definitely going to have. We've known they're going to have for a few days now. But there hasn't been a lot to talk about because we didn't know their opponent. We didn't know who they were going to play. We knew it was either going to be the Cubs or the Marlins, and now we for sure know who they're going to play, and it will be the Miami Marlins. So, the Red series to me was probably the biggest challenge that I thought, the Braves were going to see if they were going to go into this postseason with any kind of length. Because to me, the Marlins or the Cubs weren't as big of a challenge as the Reds were. To me, if the Marlins or the Cubs had played either of these Reds or Braves teams, they would have been out. So with that said, I wanted to talk about the series with the Marlins because I think a lot of DB Cooper, go ahead and ask that question. But I think a lot of fans view the Marlins as kind of they sort of look over it. I don't think we can do that. I really think that the Braves, I think they have a different mindset this postseason, but I think they need to keep that mindset if they're going to be successful. So I wanted to talk about kind of how the Braves have fared versus the Marlins this year, and I'm sure you all kind of have an idea as to how they have fared. But, they had 10 games this season, which is a very small sample size compared to other seasons. But the Braves won that span with 6-4. They had 6 wins over 4 losses versus the Marlins. And who pitched for DB Cooper? I know Kyle Wright did. I believe I want to say Robbie Erlin might have. I haven't had a chance to look at that, but I was thinking the same thing earlier. Braves need to be in game mood to beat the Marlins. Yes, they do. The Marlins are a strategic team. They can play small ball, which we didn't see a lot of small ball in this series with the Reds, and it can win ball games. When is the roster for the NLDS due? I believe on game day it's due. I expect some changes on that roster, John Kruger. I really do. He's proven me wrong so many times before, but I don't imagine Pablo Sandoval will be on that roster just because of how well Austin Riley played in this past series. He was exceptional at third base, which I don't imagine Pablo could be physically. And he had a good offensive, compared to everybody else on the Braves. Austin Riley was one of the biggest performers. So I don't imagine he'll be on it. I don't imagine Johan Camargo will be either. I just don't see a need for Johan Camargo, if I'm being completely honest. Wonder who will get the start game 1. I think it'll be Max Fried. I don't know why it wouldn't be. I think he'll have plenty of time to get some rest. That game, I don't believe, is until Tuesday, so I think he'll have plenty of time to get some rest. If not, it'll be somebody else, but I really think it'll be Max Fried. Small ball Marlins, absolutely. Would you rather Bryce Wilson or Huascar Ynoa to start a possible game 4? I was thinking about who could possibly take that spot, and I was actually talking to my dad about it right before I got on here. But I think it'll be Bryce Wilson, and I was telling him, Bryce Wilson has made some adjustments, and he looked pretty good in his last couple starts. I'm hoping if the Braves, I hope it doesn't come down to where the Braves are facing elimination in Game 4 or Game 3 even. I hope it's a 2-win start, with Max Fried and Ian Anderson. That Chad Davis, you're right. Ian Game 2, Kyle for Game 3. I don't see a reason why that wouldn't happen, to be honest with you. Why not keep the same format where you just kept the Reds scoreless for 2 games? So I think that'll be very good for them. All right, so the one time the 2 seed might have the advantage, they're playing. I wouldn't want to play the Padres in this series if I'm being honest with you. They're a team that can get hot. A lot of you guys saw my bracket, my postseason bracket that I posted on the community page, and somebody actually commented there. I couldn't tell you who did it, but somebody commented, this didn't age well on the American League side, and that's because the White Sox. I picked the White Sox to win that series versus the A's just because I thought they had a lot of pop on their team, and they're an exciting team, and the Padres are the same way. I don't like betting against them, just like I don't like betting against the Braves. To me, the Dodgers are the toughest team in the National League side. Hopefully the Braves will face them in NLCS. And, to me, they're the most well-built team. I don't think we can, deny that. They have great starting pitching. They have a great lineup. They have a great bullpen. All the way through, they're a well-built team. I think they're the favorite to win the World Series. With that said, they got to show up too. That's on paper. You have to show up to win the games. And, Clayton Kershaw historically hasn't showed up well in the postseason. The Dodgers historically have not shown up well in the past 2 decades in the World Series. And the Braves before this year, they haven't won a postseason series since 2001. So I think, you have to show up, and that's what we're seeing. You can pick a postseason bracket by the stats all day long, but the team's got to show up. This is real life too, How many of those games was without Albies and Acuna? That is a very good question. That is a stat I don't have. But I'll tell you, it was probably all of them were probably without Albies, at least the majority. Obviously, the Braves didn't have a huge problem with offense either way. I mean, they put up 29 runs in one game, against the Marlins. So it's hard to, justify how much of an impact those two guys make. But we're going in with a full deck of cards against the Marlins. Of course, we don't have Soroka and things like that, but offensively, we're going in with a full deck of cards. So, yeah, Anthony Duckworth, that's a good point. Max Fried's going to get game 1. Yep. Are you glad we're playing the Marlins and not the Cubs? Partly because I think I would rather play a team we're familiar with. But, the Marlins proved themselves to be the tougher team in that, they beat them in 2 games. So they proved to be a tough team. I don't know. It's hard to say, who would I rather play? I don't like playing that game because as soon as I pick a team, the other team will beat us. So it's hard to say it. As a Braves fan, yes, because I know that to me it always seems like the Braves perform well against the Marlins. And if I'm being honest with you, it always seems to me like if there's a slump, then the Braves play the Marlins and they get out of the slump is kind of what it always seems like to me. So yeah, I think it could be, not to say a tune-up series in the postseason, but it could go either way. The Marlins could give us really tough competition, or the Braves bats could waken up like they did in Game 2 of the series versus the Reds late in the game, and and really perform well against this Marlins pitching. To me, Sixto Sanchez is kind of a wild card. If you don't know who Sixto Sanchez is, he's going to give the Braves trouble for years to come. He's on the Marlins. He's a great pitcher. He's their Ian Anderson is how I would describe him. He's very impressive. I think he could give us some trouble, but the Braves got to him last time they played him. So, who really knows? But, yeah, I mean, the Cubs, they're a good team too. They have a lot of the remnants of that 2016 World Series team still around, so they're a good team. But I don't know if, small ball makes a difference in postseason games. And Don Mattingly is a very smart manager, very smart baseball man. So, it could go either way. It's a 5-game series. On paper, the Braves should win it, but we're going to have to wait and see. What do you think about our hitting? Do you think it was good pitching or bad hitting? I think a mixture of both, Velocity. I think, obviously it was good pitching. I mean, you're facing, 2 guys in the Cy Young conversation in Game 1, and, Ian Anderson's been a heck of a rookie this year. If it was a normal season and he continued in the season, in a regular season, he'd be up for Rookie of the Year, no doubt about it. He came up late, but he's been a guy that Brian Snitker can rely on, and he was good. Luis Castillo is a very good pitcher too. They got 1 run against him, and then Marcell Ozuna broke the doors wide open. But I think it was just really good pitching. The Reds obviously have really good pitching all the way through. They have good pitching. We saw their bullpen. Their bullpen matched our bullpen, and we all know how good our bullpen's been this year. So, I think it was a little mixture of both. There were some bad at-bats. I remember Trevor Bauer facing Marcell Ozuna specifically, and, I can say this because Marcell Ozuna he made us all smile by the end of the series, but Marcell Ozuna had some terrible at-bats versus Trevor Bauer, swinging way outside the zone and things like that. So, yeah, it was a little mixture of both in my opinion. But, I think it was all in all, I probably would lean good pitching. Let me see. I got kind of mixed up. Is the roster set for the next series? Not to my knowledge. I have not seen anything dropped. The Braves have been doing it kind of late all this year, and they did it late before this past series. It was like the morning of that they dropped it on Twitter. I think there will be some changes. Justin Retman, I spoke on this a minute ago. I'm not sure if you were here, but I spoke on this a minute ago. I think Pablo Sandoval will most likely not be on it, though. And again, he's proven me wrong. He might be a really big influence in the clubhouse. Pablo Sandoval, being there before and things like that. So I imagine that's why he's there. He's obviously not there for his fielding, and I don't believe he's there for his hitting either. So that's just kind of where I'm leaning there. Marlins don't have the pitching the Reds have. The current offense should do well. Even my boy Riley has done good. Riley, it's no secret I'm a Riley fan. Not at all. But, yeah, Riley – to me, Riley was one of the most influential players of this past series. I really believe that. A clutch base hit to set it up for Freddie finally in the bottom of that 13th inning, and some great fielding plays. Obviously, we all remember the tag that Duvall, when he was in the outfield, he threw to Riley, and Riley made an excellent tag, and then the tag at home plate, shortly after that to end that inning. So, yeah, Riley's had an excellent series. Marcell Ozuna and Adam Duvall kind of gave me some hope with this offense. We're not as dependent as the Reds are on the long ball, but we've been pretty we've used the long ball tactic a lot this year, and I think we're going to need it as this postseason continues, especially if we're going to compete with the Dodgers. We're going to need to be able to hit that. We're going to be able to produce runs, and we don't need to necessarily hit a homer every game, but we need to be able to do that, and that's what eventually won us the series. So, I agree. Great content. Keep up the good work. I look forward to your game recaps. I appreciate that. I work very hard here, and I really appreciate it. I'm actually going to take a quick break real quick, so stand by. But we'll be back with all your questions right after this. Okay. But no, we're not. Okay. I'm trying some new things here. Apparently, we have ads now on these live streams, so that's pretty cool. But I don't know where that went. So anyway, do you think Sixto or Lopez will give the Braves more trouble because the Braves have beaten them and lost to them? The Braves and the Marlins are both going to show up with the same mindset, right, to win. And I think, good pitching beats good hitting. We've heard that so many times this past week. I think the Braves offense shows up, though. I think those late inning homers are going to help them. It could go either way. Sixto's been very impressive. Pablo Lopez is pretty good. But to me, Sixto's the more impressive pitcher, and that's the one that I'm more worried about. But I said this last week, and I got a lot of flack for it. But remember, the Braves have Max Fried and Ian Anderson. And I know, when you're on the same side, it's easy to forget just how good those guys are. Max Fried was leading the Cy Young conversation for a good part of the year. He's 7-0 on the regular season, 1-0 in the postseason. Sorry, he didn't get the win, but they won the game he pitched, he stood toe-to-toe with Trevor Bauer. He is that good. Ian Anderson is that good, and he's proven it so far this year. I think Kyle Wright has made a lot of adjustments in those last couple of regular season games. Obviously, we didn't get to see him in this past series, but he's made a lot of adjustments, and I think he could be, he could be a surpriser. He could surprise a lot of people and really perform well. Bryce Wilson, same thing. These guys have the potential. The Braves wouldn't have kept these guys around so long in the minors if they didn't believe in them. So at the end of the day, it's who can play better baseball for one game, when it comes to pitching anyway. And for the rest of it, who can play better baseball in a 5-game series. It's a very small sample size. It's going to come down to who can put the best offense and pitching together. I'd be more worried about Sixto, though, if I'm being honest with you. Will playing at Minute Maid negatively impact us? I don't believe so. I hope I'm saying your name right, Akash Patel. I don't believe so. I think, if I'm being honest with you, I think that playing with no fans, as much as I'd like to be there, because make no mistake about it, I would be there probably along with most of you guys. I would be there for at least one game. I think playing with no fans gives the ability for the Braves to have Ian Anderson just play baseball and not focus on 50,000 people yelling his name. Kyle Wright, same thing. Bryce Wilson, same thing. That could help them. I really think so. They won't have to deal with a boo if they give up a homer, right? So that mindset, it's a little bit different. And to be honest with you, the home field advantage goes away. We all remember when Acuna hit the grand slam. I was there for that. I was tomahawk chopping too. You can't tell me that tomahawk chop did not get to Walker Buehler and make him make a mistake. I think so, and I think it overwhelmed him, and he was young. He was up for Rookie of the Year at the time. That postseason environment, the fan, not to say interference, but the fan interaction can make a difference. Make no mistake about it. So I think, honestly, taking the fans out takes that away. So playing at Minute Maid, to me, doesn't necessarily impact us as big as you might think. It's basically just both teams playing as a visiting team with a quiet feel. So, no, I don't think it necessarily impacts us. I really do think our bullpen stepped up big time in that Reds series. Even if the Reds aren't very good hitting, we always pitched out of trouble in that series. You are absolutely right. Two guys that come to mind, I mean, of course, all the bullpen pitched pretty well, but we got ourselves into some sticky situations. To me, A.J. Minter, A.J. Minter came in with the bases loaded, I believe, and got out of it. Tyler Matzik had 2 runners on with no outs and then proceeded to get 3 consecutive strikeouts. The bullpen is one of our biggest strengths. It has been this year. They know that. They knew they had to perform, especially in a 0-0 game. And it turned out well for the Braves. To me, the Reds bullpen, you can't say enough about them too. Of course, even when the Braves won, there were a couple hits in that ninth, or in that 13th rather, that Archie Bradley, it wasn't necessarily his fault. They were ground balls. They weren't necessarily hit super hard. They just got through the infield. So yeah, I think they pitched well against one of the best pitching teams in the National League. And that makes me, I said this the other day, that makes me feel significantly better about our chances, because if we all had a worry going into this postseason, it was, can our starting pitching last, right? And we didn't find that out in this past series, and that's credit to our bullpen. If we get to a Game 5 in this next series, we're still going to be wondering, can our starting pitching last with Kyle Wright and Bryce Wilson? And if we get to a Game 5, I think Max Fried might pitch that Game 5. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I hope it doesn't get to that. I hope we win before that, or and we move on. But our bullpen is easily one of the biggest strengths on the team, especially in that Game 1. I wonder if Kyle loses Game 3, who will pitch Game 4? Yeah, I think it's going to be Bryce Wilson. Since we will not see Folty this year, I hate that too. I think it's not necessarily too late for Foltynewicz. The Braves added Pablo Sandoval to this roster, and Charlie Culberson, so it's not too late for them. I think you're going to see some adjustments made. Bryce Wilson was left off of this roster. I believe it was 15 position players and 13 pitchers. That math might be wrong, but there's 2 guys that I think go down in my mindset, and there might be more. Pablo Sandoval, because I don't think he plays any third. I don't think he's an influential part in the lineup, and I think the Braves need more pitching. It wouldn't necessarily, and I know you guys, there's some of you guys that hate me for saying it, but it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if we saw Mike Foltynewicz at all. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw some guys that would surprise all of you, surprise me too. Some out of left field names come in just in case. They might not necessarily see time on the mound, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw them on that roster. I don't want to put any hope into your hearts, you Folty fans, but it wouldn't surprise me. I see a few of you have asked me about it since that was brought up. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I've been saying that all year long. It just wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It just would not surprise me. Obviously Foltynewicz has made a lot of developments. It's been in the rumor mill, 95 miles an hour, excellent slider. It just would not surprise me. Yeah, they could have given him an extra start at the end of the regular season. I was kind of hoping that would happen as opposed to Tucker Davidson. I know we all wanted to see Tucker Davidson, but I was hoping it would be either a Sean Newcomb or a Mike Foltynewicz. I was leaning more towards Mike Foltynewicz at the time, just to see, show me what he's got. If he doesn't have anything, okay, move on. But, if he's made those developments, I don't see why not. Sorry, lost my place. I've been a Riley fan since AAA. Sean Sports Card says he's very talented and can play a great deal of positions. Yeah, we saw him play a little bit of first base last year. He's an excellent fielder. I think that's a very underrated thing about his game. I completely agree. Who fills the fourth rotation spot? Again, that's probably, in my opinion, going to be Bryce Wilson. Could change, but I think it's going to be Bryce Wilson. Riley will only get better. Gold Glove, he's adapting to MLB pitching. He sure is, and he's having a lot better at bats. He's not chasing that slider near as much. And I got some flack. I always get flack for defending players that aren't performing well. Obviously, Riley, last year came up and had just a monster of a month in May last year. I was at his debut because no way I was missing that. He was really hot in the minors. He came up hot. And he performed exceptionally well because of it. And Major League Pitching figured him out. The film on him got around, and they figured out he couldn't hit the slider, and they pitched nothing but sliders to him, and he swung and missed over him, a lot. But, he's starting to figure it out, and I thought that was going to happen. It could go either way a lot of the time, but I thought Riley would figure it out. And, he doesn't necessarily have to hit a bomb every at-bat. He could just get a base hit. And I think he's starting to figure that out. He's had a lot of help from guys like Chipper Jones and Albert Pujols. I don't know how many of you guys knew that, but obviously they see something in him, and I do too. So, he's definitely adapting. If we signed Bauer, we'd be unstoppable. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that recently. I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, but, Bauer wasn't too thrilled that a lot of you guys were talking about the chop on the way out of his appearance the other day. Bauer signs nothing but one-year deals. If the Braves got him, that would obviously help with their situation. It's no secret that I'm a Bauer guy. I like Trevor Bauer just as much as anybody. He's a great pitcher, and he's fun to watch on YouTube. So if you like me, go watch Trevor Bauer. We'd definitely be unstoppable. I'm ready for Tuesday. Yep, me too. I do think that if Kyle can give us a solid start, it would make a world of difference. He is the wild card. Yeah. I literally wrote down some stats on this piece of paper before I did this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but right here, I got terrible handwriting. Forgive me. But right here it says these two guys are wild card, and those names are Kyle Wright and Bryce Wilson. Kyle Wright has a 5.21 ERA this year, 21 innings pitched. Bryce Wilson has a 4 ERA and has 15 innings pitched. They have the potential, but can they do it in a short series? It is a wild card. We're going to have to wait and see. And that's the whole thing. If this was just easily predicted, if what was going to happen in the postseason was just easily predicted, it wouldn't be fun to watch. And that's why we all enjoy watching it. So moments like this, moments like Kyle Wright taking the mound in the postseason for the first time, and Bryce Wilson as rookies, Ian Anderson even, those moments are why we watch the postseason. And I'm excited for it personally. The fastballs have kept the Marlins in the convo. Yep. Completely agree with the postseason environment. It's a crazy environment to pitch in with so many fans cheering against you. Yeah, I don't know how many of you guys have been to a postseason game. I've been to 2. I've been lucky enough to go to 2. The Braves have kept me busy over the past couple of years. I was at game 3 last year, whichever one Keuchel started. The Braves lost that one, but the year before I was at, like I said, the Acuna game. The postseason environment's just different. I go to about 10 Braves games a year when COVID doesn't shut us down. I go to about 10 games a year or so, and it's a different environment. It's very relaxed during the regular season. You go, and if the Braves lose, it sucks. But at the end of the day, it's one game out of 162 typically. But in the postseason, every game matters, every pitch matters, every at bat matters, and it's just a different environment with fans there. The tomahawk chop, especially, there's a reason why so many people want to get rid of it. The tomahawk chop makes a world of a difference, and it can get in the mind of a lot of pitchers. Walker Buehler being the most recent one, in my opinion. I think that Fulton Newcomb will be added to pitch in the NLDS. Maybe again, would not surprise me. Can we sign Trevor to a 1-year? Hang on, let me find that again. I'm sorry. Can we sign Trevor to a 1-year deal right now and get him in the rotation? Would be nice. It would be nice. I would not be against it. Go Braves. All right, CJ, I hear you. Go Braves. Predictions for the rest of the series, please. All right. So I thought the Braves would win 7-2 in game 2. I believe that's what I said. Yeah, 7-2. I thought they would get out late. Luis Castillo's a good pitcher. I thought they'd get him out of the game and eventually get some offense. And I overestimated what I thought the Reds would do. I thought they'd put up a couple runs, but they did not, and the Braves put up 5. So the run difference was 5. I did get that right. But predictions for the rest of the series, if I had – it's so hard to say. If I tell you, I don't want you to hold it against me. But I think the Braves beat the Marlins. I do. I would have told you that any day. I have been wrong plenty of times this postseason, so I am no expert. But I think even the experts are saying that. The Braves are a force to be reckoned with. I think they could give the Dodgers a challenge. That series could go either way. If like I said, the Dodgers have to show up. They're obviously the favorite right now, but they have to show up. And the Braves at the beginning of the year proved that they can go toe-to-toe with the Rays. I don't know if you remember, but they split a 4-game series with the Rays at the beginning of the year. That's head-to-head competition. It's a little bit different. And it's also regular season. But Braves are a good team. There's no doubt about it. I think they beat the Marlins. I think the Marlins are going to be I'll just say this. The National League East, to me, is underrated. The National League East has a lot of pitching in it. A lot of pitching. Think about just the Braves for a second. Max Fried and Ian Anderson come out of nowhere, right? Or not Max Fried, but Ian Anderson comes out of nowhere. Max Fried, in a way, Max Fried did come out of nowhere. He was starting last year. He was a great pitcher, but not to this level. When Soroka went down, he became a new pitcher. Mike Soroka, when he wasn't out, how good he was. And then just around the other teams for a second, DeGrom, Syndergaard for the past few years. Scherzer, Strasburg, and now Sixto Sanchez, the Marlins guys. Pablo Lopez has been good. The pitching in the National League East is just very underrated. It's a tough division. And the fact that the Braves have won it for the past few years, I think goes very unnoticed. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. The Dodgers have been very good, but they haven't seen the Braves this year. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that series this year. We don't know how they're going to compete. Their lineup is good, just like the Braves. Their pitching is deep. It'll be interesting. If the Braves can somehow manage to beat them in 4 games or something, it'd be very interesting. But it's so hard to pick predictions. I say this. I'll predict the Marlins series. I think the Braves win. I think the Braves win in 4 games, and I'll leave it at that. When it comes to the Dodgers, I'm not ready to give you a prediction yet, but I'll let you know. I'll let you know how I'm feeling after this next series. I don't think we signed Trevor Bauer because him and Acuna have beef. That is not true. I know what you're talking about. There was a Twitter post between Acuna and Trevor Bauer where, there was quote-unquote beef. They were joking around, man. The thing I like about Trevor Bauer, a lot of Braves fans don't like him right now because of his whole antics on the mound. I like Trevor Bauer personally. His YouTube is hilarious. It gives you an inside look. The MLB commissioner can't stand his YouTube because of how much he shows and, how much he expresses his actual opinions about the game. I think he is endorsing let the kids play. And, when Marcell Ozuna, they were talking about it during the game. I don't know if you remember, literally a day after Trevor Bauer Conor McGregor style walks off the mound, proceeds to tomahawk chop his way out. Literally a day after that, Marcell Ozuna gets flack for taking a selfie after that big homer in Game 2. Trevor Bauer is not the type of guy to get mad when somebody does something like that. He endorses it. And to be honest with you, I endorse it too. I used to be kind of a traditionalist, and in certain ways I am. But I don't mind celebrations, especially in big moments like that. Jose Bautista's bat flip comes to mind. That's an iconic moment, right? I don't mind that. I actually like that. Football gets to do it. NBA gets to do it when somebody makes a slam dunk and they go, and they scream and yell. They get to have celebrations. Why can't baseball? I understand it's a traditional sport, but, Trevor Bauer has that opinion. So, him and Acuna are going back and forth, and Trevor Bauer had already lost the series. If the series was continuing and they were competitors, I would feel differently. But I don't think they actually have beef. I think Trevor Bauer has beef with Braves fans right now because of how much Twitter beef they've given him. But no, I don't think him and Acuna necessarily have beef. I think Bauer, after a Cy Young year, will be looking for a 5+ year contract, probably $100 million plus. the Braves don't go out and sign big names like that. That is not true. They will go sign big names, if it's the right move, but they haven't had that right move. They do short-term deals. And actually, Velocity, Trevor Bauer's had plenty of opportunities to go for long-term deals, and he hasn't done it. There's actually a very interesting reason as to why, and I'll tell you real quick. Bauer, when he was younger, made a bet with one of his friends, that he would not sign more than a one-year deal. And if he did, the consequence would be getting shot in the nether regions with a paintball gun. And he has not signed a multi-year deal because of that. And to be honest with you, I think it keeps him motivated to do good every year. It's worked so far. But, yeah, he signs one-year deals. That's it. That could change. That's not exactly written, in a court document or anything. But, he made a bet and he stuck to it. He seems like the guy that would do anything to keep that bet, So I think he'll have more one-year deals following this personally. Do you think the Braves bring back the chop? I've been quiet on this. This is what I think. I don't get political on this whole. I don't get political on YouTube. I don't like to talk. Not even social problems. I don't talk politics or anything like that here. But when it comes to the chop, there's been a lot of controversy. Obviously, the Redskins, had to change their name to the Washington football team. I have a very good relationship with Chief Nakahoma. A lot of you guys know that. You've probably seen the interview I did with him. Me and him are actually very good friends. I talk to him about, every month or so I give him a call. When I asked him his opinion, I was actually very curious as to what he thinks about the tomahawk chop. Because remember, the tomahawk chop came in after Chief was done. He was done in 85, and that didn't come around until Deion Sanders' time. So I asked him, and he loves it. He doesn't think it's insulting. He did think that the Redskins name was insulting. He compared it to, he basically said it was an inflammatory insult to Indians. So he felt differently about that. But he was very encouraging to the Braves and the Indian culture, embracing the Indian culture. The big drum, is a factor in that. The tomahawk logo, and things like that. I think they bring the chop back. And if they don't necessarily have the sound in the stadium, good luck keeping 50,000 fans in the postseason from tomahawk chopping. And you might not sell the tomahawk in the clubhouse store, but there's about 1 million of them, in my closet alone. So good luck keeping Braves fans leaving those at home. That's just my opinion. I don't think they get rid of it. I don't think they're able to get rid of it at this point. But I've been proven wrong before, so we'll see. Do you think Bryce Wilson will do good in the postseason? It's hard to say. We can ask, do you think this guy will do good? Do you think this guy will do good? I think the important thing is, do you think the Braves will do well? And I think they've already done well. I think they've proven, to get that monkey off their back that they can't win in the postseason. I think they can. And I think, they'll come in with the right mindset and they'll win. I don't think they'll have – one thing about playing the Marlins is there is no unknown. You know exactly what that team will do. You know exactly how they play. You played them 10 times this year. You've won significantly, over the past few years. You know that team. So I don't think there's goosebumps necessarily. Playing in a different environment maybe, but I just don't see that. I just don't see that. Go Braves. Go win the World Series. Yeah, they fear the chop. Yeah, I hope so. Oh, man, y'all have asked a lot of questions. I got to catch up. Hang on. All right. Score for Game 1, 29-9. Yeah, that was that score matches Game 6 between the Braves and the Marlins this year. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe Game 3. I don't know about Game 1. Velocity. It really blows my mind that both Anderson and Max both had their first career postseason starts back to back, and they both pitched phenomenal. They basically won us that series against the Reds. Yeah, absolutely, they won that series. The bullpen as well, but yeah. Fried going 7 innings, scoreless, was phenomenal in Game 1. And as Ian Anderson so eloquently said after Game 2, Max Fried came in and set the tone. And hopefully that'll happen versus the Marlins. I agree we'll beat the Marlins in 4 games. I certainly hope so. Trevor Bauer would fit great in Atlanta. I think so too. I think Trevor Bauer is a very different, as a friend of mine would say, a strange bird. He's different. But I think he would be embraced by the Atlanta fans if he was on their team. I really do. And, we've seen some interesting guys over the years. John Rocker comes to mind. I think he would be embraced by the Atlanta fans. I really do. What is one of the stupidest things you've ever heard? CJ, let me know in the comment section. Who starts the final game of the Marlins series? Kyle Wright? I think he starts game 3. It depends on what game what game's the final one. I think he starts game 3. If there's a game 5 or if the Braves are down, I think Fried will start game 5. If you think the showboating is a new thing, I assume you're referring to Trevor Bauer here, and disrespectful to the history of the game. Remember, Babe Ruth called his home run. That's one of the most epic showboating of all time. Yeah, he wasn't the only one either. I mean, Ty Cobb back in the day, things like that. I like the competitive aspect, and I think that's something, that a lot of times baseball doesn't have, especially like in a 162 regular season. Now, I'm all for 162. I don't want 60-game seasons every year. But, something you lose is urgency, right? Like think about and that's something baseball is battling. That's why their ratings, you always hear about, the commissioner wanting to shorten the length of games. That's not the problem. To me, it's lack of urgency. That's why the pitch clock was thrown in and things like that, which I'm not that big of a fan of necessarily. But there is no urgency in regular season games in a 162-game season. So with that said, I find it interesting. I like when somebody hits a homer. Now, if you're up 10-0 and you hit a homer, just take your base. Just take it and get home. Chipper Jones was always really good about that. If he hit a big homer, he just put his head down. Unless it was a walk-off, there was no real celebration necessarily until he got to the dugout. And I like that urgency, and that's something we're missing. In football, every game matters, right? If it's in college football, if there's 12 games. If you lose one, you're out of the postseason, conversation almost, at least. In basketball, it always seems like, because there's a clock timing you out, you got to win in a certain amount of time. Baseball's not that way. It is different. In the postseason is the one time that is actually a thing. And, I don't mind celebrating. I really don't. And as Freddie Freeman said, when you go out and you pitch like Trevor Bauer did, you can do whatever you want, in my opinion. As long as you're not doing anything vulgar, I don't mind it. What's the update on Acuna's wrist? He seems fine to me. He got a major base hit the other day, so I think he's going to play through it. You probably won't hear anything about it until after the series, just how bad it was. Similar to how Freddie Freeman was last year. We didn't know much about his condition. We didn't know how bad, and then we wondered why he played so horribly last season. I think he would say that too. And, now we know it was because of a wrist injury. I think Acuna, I think he'll play through it, and so far he's playing okay. I don't know how bad it really is, though. I also agree that Anthopoulos doesn't get enough credit. He almost always makes the right move. And with Ozuna becoming an MVP candidate and some of the other signings he's made, with the exception of Hamels. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that's kind of the first quote-unquote bad move he's made, and I don't know that it was necessarily a bad move. Hamels didn't meet expectations. There was definitely an expectation for him to have some kind of contribution, and he didn't have it. But think about all the moves he's made. Think about how many heads were scratching when, he signed Will Smith, a closer, to like a 3-year deal. Now Ozuna, is that really going to replace the offense of Josh Donaldson? Josh Donaldson didn't make the first round of the playoff roster this year, and that's not a knock on him. Everybody knows I like Josh. But at the same time, he didn't make that roster because, either he's injured or he's not performing well at the plate or things like that. Obviously, he had that homer the other day where that was very eventful. But, yeah, I think Alex Anthopoulos is is very underrated and not talked about enough. Mark DeRosa gave him a lot of credit the other day on MLB Network. But, he's not talked about enough. That's why I make it a point when something does go the Braves' way and, specifically a move that nobody liked at the time. And, I always give him the benefit of the doubt. And he's very underrated in my opinion. What a comeback for Tyler Matzik. Yeah, dude. I think he's one of the best stories this season, one that's not talked about much. Tyler Matzik is a guy who pitched for the Rockies a few years ago, had a couple of years off, and then all of a sudden comes in this year and just has done what he's done. I think it's very impressive. Do you think Soroka will come back as good as he was or worse? That's something I'm concerned about. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Soroka, to me, will come back. One, he'll come back when he's ready. They will not rush him back. Not from that. I think there might be a transitional period, of not pitching so many innings. And Max Fried may take the ace title for a while. Maybe they'll be eventually becoming a pair of aces. But I think he'll come back just fine. I really do. Eventually, I think again there'll be a transitional period. But when he comes back, he'll be just as relied on as he was when he left. I really believe that. Do you think the Braves bring back Ozuna? I didn't until recently. I talked to Kevin McAlpin a lot on this channel. You guys have probably seen a couple interviews. If you watched them or not, I would. Kevin McAlpin is one of the guys that is closest to the Braves media. He's with 680 The Fan, so obviously he has conversations with the Braves regularly. I think the two biggest moves that are going to happen for the Braves specifically this offseason is one, they sign Freddie Freeman. They extend him. He has one more year on his contract. I think they go ahead and get that out of the way and get him extended. The other is whether or not they bring Marcell Ozuna back. And Kevin actually brought up an interesting theory. Chipper Jones back in the day reallocated money, so that the Braves could go get the Upton brothers, so that they could get Tim Hudson, so they could all these names, because he wanted to win. It would not surprise me. Marcell Ozuna, I believe, I don't know what team it was, but I believe he turned down a multi-year deal last year to sign with the Braves on a one-year deal. And, yeah, it was a significant amount of money for 1 year, but at the same time, it was a one-year deal. That's it. That was the only thing guaranteed. So he would have made more money had he signed a longer term. Obviously, he did himself a favor, but he's going to want more money and longer deal next year. I do think that, but I think the Braves definitely have interest. They'd be dumb not to. The guy was, I know it was a 60-game season, but the guy had 2/3 of the Triple Crown won. So yeah, I think the Braves have all the interest in the world in bringing back Ozuna, whether or not but I think it's got to be for the right price. Any hopes for free agency next offseason? What do you think about Tanaka? I wouldn't mind Tanaka. He's getting older. He is an effective pitcher, though. One thing about Tanaka is he can go 6 innings. You know what you're going to get out of him. But I look more. You got Mike Soroka coming back. You've got Ian Anderson, who's been very effective, and you've got others, that have just been very effective within the organization. I do think they need to make a move, though. It wouldn't surprise me if they got somebody like Trevor Bauer. Don't underestimate Alex Anthopoulos. Trevor Bauer likes 1-year deals. The Braves like 1-year deals. It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. My biggest hope would be to get Trevor Bauer. As a fan, I would like to see somebody like that come to Atlanta. Also, are you glad we didn't sign Puig? I wouldn't say glad. Before the Puig talk ever happened, I wasn't really a big Puig guy. And then amidst the changes, the Braves signed him, and then he, didn't get cleared with COVID and everything. I was excited to have Puig. Obviously, the way things have transpired, they've adjusted. They didn't necessarily need him necessarily, but I wouldn't say I'm glad that we didn't sign Puig. I don't think that's fair. I'm glad it worked out where we didn't need Puig. I think that's a better way to say it. Trevor Bauer, yeah. Trevor Bauer is normal compared to Zach Greinke. yeah. Yeah, but Trevor Bauer is a lot better of a pitcher too right now. It's hard to look at starting pitcher free agents when half of our top 30 prospects are pitching. Fair enough, yeah. Is that Palmer? Yeah. What's up, Palmer? Braves will win the World Series. I'm glad you got confidence. You got more than I have right now. Oh, let me see. Sorry, this thing adjusts and clicks so far. I can't keep up. Do you think B-Mac would have played the season if he knew he could just DH? No, B-Mac was done. B-Mac had a great career. He won a World Series. He had a long career. He got to come back to the Braves for a final season. I think he knew it was one and done, and I think that's why he was so successful last year. He had a lot of big walk-off hits and things like that. I think he finished his career at the right time. I wish that the Braves would have had more postseason success for him last year, but I think last year was it for him. Paul Bird tells the story of him just walking in with ice packs on his shoulder, ice packs on his knees, and you don't want to see anybody put themselves through that when it's past time. I think he hung them up at the right time. I really think so. And Breemack had a great career, and I'm glad it ended with the Braves. I'm glad he got to come back home. What are your thoughts on Will Smith and his future and the bullpen? Do you think Atlanta would just re-sign everyone? Will Smith signed for 3 years. Everybody else, I haven't really had a chance to look at it. I don't know why they wouldn't. The bullpen's been exceptional. Unless somebody wants an outrageous amount of money, I don't know why they wouldn't re-sign him because the performance is there. Shane Green's had a couple rough outings lately, and his first postseason outing wasn't great. But the guy all year was dominant, so that can't be understated. He's really been dominant. So I think they re-sign as many of them as possible, unless some of them want just unordinary amounts of money. Do you think a fourth starter will be added to the roster? Yeah, I do. We can't go in there with what we have right now. There's no reason. I said this earlier. There's no reason to have Pablo Sandoval necessarily. There's no reason to have Johan Camargo when Riley's playing like he is, and you have Ozzie Albies and Dansby Swanson. There's no reason to have another infielder. The outfield's booked. I just don't see that, in my opinion. I think they definitely bring up some pitchers. They didn't need Bryce Wilson, right? It's a 3-game series. Where's he going to go? The bullpen's – we saw what the bullpen could do. We don't need them to have anything else. I think they bring somebody up. All right. I just followed you on Instagram. That is NXTG_days. I don't know how to say that. I hope it's I really don't know how to say that. I appreciate that. If you're on here and you don't follow me on Instagram, go do that. I haven't been doing much lately other than sitting at home and sitting in the studio talking to you guys. But, during typical seasons, I am at the stadium. I'm doing things pretty regularly. And it's, I like to show you guys what I'm doing kind of behind the scenes a lot of the time up here. So go follow me on Instagram. I appreciate that. I'll try to see if I can't follow you back later. Wayne Blackman, Braves need to move Inciarte, Camargo, Flowers, Hechavarria, and Jackson before next year. Flowers is gone after this season. He will not be with the Braves. I don't believe. His contract ends. They got William Contreras, who will probably still be on this next postseason roster, and he's been pretty impressive this season, and I don't think he needs any more time. And they have Shea Langoliers in the waiting. I think Flowers is gone. He's not, he's put up okay numbers, but I think his time's coming to an end. I think most fans think that way. For a while, he had a lot of support, but I think his time's running out. Camargo, there is nowhere for Camargo to go. Like Inciarte, and I've spoke about Inciarte about 10 times on this channel already. Like Inciarte, I think he's running out of space. Riley took third base. That is his spot now. I think that's pretty well stated. Nowhere in the outfield for somebody like Camargo to go. The utility role to me belongs to Charlie Culberson. The guy can play everywhere and he can hit pretty good and he's clutch. He's got ice water running through his veins. At the plate. I think you're right there. Hechavarria, didn't have a great year this season. Maybe his time comes to an end. Luke Jackson, I'm not even going to talk about that, but Luke Jackson probably needs to go too. Also, about that Bauer tweet with the Braves, with how he said wouldn't be welcome here, do you think anything of that? Like I said, Trevor Bauer is a strange bird. I think he could be easily swayed by somebody like Alex Anthopoulos. I think he's more or less teasing Braves fans and getting people to talk about it. And I think that's the most important thing. Because look at you, Velocity. We're talking about it right now. We've been talking about Trevor Bauer. This thing's been going 50 minutes. We talked about Trevor Bauer, at least 15 of those. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think if he's going to sign where he's going to sign, whether that be Cincinnati again or whether that be somewhere else. But that's just my opinion. Do you think Bauer's Twitter quote-unquote beef is him hinting or wanting to be a Brave? He got a good look at us. He knows our offense is good. He'd fit in well. But I think Trevor Bauer is one of the type of guys also, as much as I'd like for him to come to the Braves, I think Trevor Bauer is the kind of guy that wants to carry a team, and he can do that. But if he wants to win, he needs to get out of Cincinnati. They made it to the postseason this year with the expanded playoffs and things like that. But I think if he wants to win, he needs to exit Cincinnati and go to a team. So, yeah, he might. But I think he could go to other teams too. Do you think anytime soon Minter will take on the closer role, or do you think Will Smith will be the closer? I think you're going to have a rotation of closers. The Braves bullpen is stout. They're completely booked up. AJ Minter's been impressive. Of course, Will Smith is now getting back into it. A lot of people were giving him grief because he had a 4.5 ERA to end the regular season, but the dude had coronavirus for the first half of the season. So he needed to work, and he's proven to be effective so far this postseason. I thought Shane Green could take on the closer role personally for a while there. Melanson has been effective in the closer role. I personally like a guy that can pitch 95 and above in the closer role. So whether that be Minter or Will Smith, either one. Do you think Melanson is top 3 closers in all of MLB right now? That might be a stretch. Not when you have like Chapman and folks like that. No, I don't think so. He's effective, but I don't think so. Drop Ender and get Bryce is what I assume you meant. Yeah, I think. Yeah. We need to get rid of Flowers. Completely agree. Also, do you think Freddie will win the MVP or will Betts get it again? I don't think it'll be Betts. I think it's going to come down between Tatis and Freddie, and with that West Coast bias, anything can happen. Freddie has by far earned the MVP. I don't think anybody will deny that. The stats show it. His clutch moment the other day, even though it's only supposed to be with the regular season, you can't deny that. And that shows exactly why he is the MVP. To me, anyway, he has my vote if I had one. Freddie certainly has my vote, and I think he has a lot of the old school guys with him. But that West Coast bias, it definitely is a factor. But I think Freddie Freeman wins the MVP this year. I've said that a few times now, but I think it's Freddie. What is the deadline for roster moves against Miami? As far as I know, it is the day of the game, game 1, because the Braves didn't drop their roster on the previous series until game 1 of versus Cincinnati that morning. So as far as I know, it's that day. So we'll have to wait till then. I think you see some adjustments definitely made. I think you're going to see more pitchers than position players, and that's something that was not the case on this past roster. Just because of how the series is set up for 3 games, you don't need that many pitchers. There's only a certain amount of innings. Obviously, we might have cut it close after game 1, but in a 3-game series, it's just different than how you would format a 5-game series. I don't think you need Pablo Sandoval and Johan Camargo and maybe not even Charlie Culberson, even though I know there's going to be I think there's going to be a pitcher, another pitcher come in. Thoughts on the watch parties, and will you get a field pod? I don't know what a field pod is, but the watch parties are an exciting thing. I believe I'm going to one. I don't know which one yet. I believe Thursday, I want to say I'm going. It's $10. So, yeah, I suggest you all go. You get to watch the Braves at the field and be around Braves fans and, show your support. I don't think there's any problem with what they're doing. Any thoughts on the Braves farm? Do you think next season the Braves will give Drew Waters and potentially Pache more time? Yeah, definitely. With the farm, I think we saw a lot of their arms this year a little early, Ian Anderson being the biggest one. Drew Waters and Pache. Pache is the leader in that, undoubtedly. But, yeah, I think they both get more time next year. I think Pache's on the opening day roster. Going back to Freddie winning the MVP, just because they're not supposed to take the postseason into account doesn't mean they won't. He gets more brownie points. Yeah, I was telling my little brother and me talk baseball a good bit. He mentioned he mentioned this exact scenario, and I referred to when Acuna took Walker Buehler deep and with that grand slam in the postseason. To me, in a head-to-head matchup, especially like in that moment, that makes a difference in the voting. I mean, at the end of the day, it's popularity contest. I mean, it's a vote, right? Just like your presidential vote, it's a popularity contest. And the only thing about it is Tatis has been very popular. It's not supposed to be regular season, but I think the postseason's got to be included in that. Postseason clutch moments. I mean, think about this. The Austin Riley season compared to last year, right? It was all right, but it wasn't anything big. Austin Riley's hit the other day, his tags the other day, made him a contender to me, he made him the MVP of that series with the Reds. And obviously the pitching was great, but you can't pick one pitcher out of that, I don't even know how many were, 7. You can't pick one guy. Max Fried, I guess, would be, your guy, but Ian Anderson was right there with him. There were so many of them. To me, being a playmaker makes a difference, and Freddie is nothing but a playmaker. The walk-off the other day was phenomenal. And, I completely agree with Wayne Blackman right there. If I were to pick a team, Freddie is my first baseman. He doesn't have the same – when I say this, I don't want to make you mad, but he doesn't have the same quote-unquote star power that Tatis or Mookie would have. And when I say that, it's not that he doesn't perform like they do. He absolutely does. But you don't see Freddie on the cover of billboards and stuff like that. He's just a very soft-spoken guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Paul Goldschmidt is another one exactly like that. It's just the case. But, think about how many commercials you've seen Tatis on versus how many you've seen Freddie on, in such a short amount of time. So the vote, that's the bias there. Stats all lean towards Freddie, though. If I'm picking a guy, it's Freddie, personally. He's a Gold Glover, too. I can't tell me you can't tell me that his height and his wingspan and the ability to make plays like he does doesn't draw in as a factor to that, because I think it does. Yeah, that great defensive play that Riley made on that dive, that probably saved the day. There's no probably. It did. I think the game was won on that play. Because I had a conversation with somebody the other day about this. I think if he doesn't make that play, the Braves lose game 1 and could lose the series. That won that game. Because had that run scored, that was in the 7th inning. Had that run scored, there would have not been a Brave score by the end of the 9th. Of course, you're dealing with the laws of physics here, but on paper, there was no score until the 13th inning. So had that run scored, that was a huge play and a veteran play by such a young guy. Yeah, it didn't probably save the day. To me, it did. Exactly. Freddie is underrated because he's been so good for so long. It's almost expected he deserves hype. Yeah, and that's the problem. To me, the Atlanta market, and I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but the Atlanta fan base has been so not mediocre, but the Atlanta fan base is not to the levels of fan bases like Boston or fan bases like the Dodgers or things like that, because they don't believe. A lot of that's not on the Braves, it's on the Falcons and other teams. And, it's basically if you don't succeed in the postseason, you don't matter, right? So, yeah, he deserves hype. The whole team deserves hype this year. The fact that Freddie plays first base has something to do with it. He's great there, but it's considered the least taxing of other positions. Yeah, but when you're that good at it and when you're that good of a hitter for so long, I think personally, I think you have to take that into account. You can't help where you're placed. You can't help what position you're at. If you're a good catcher, right, but you don't have near as many at-bats, is there any less work? Wayne, thank you. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I know you got to go. You have a good one, all right? Hey, we're actually about to wrap this up in a minute. I actually have to run in a minute. But last thing I'm going to say as I look ahead to as a look ahead to the series with the Marlins is this. The Braves won 6-4 head-to-head this year versus the Marlins in a regular season. They put 29 runs up against them at one point. They have done very well against the Marlins, right? With that said, it does not matter. None of this, what I'm holding right here, does not matter. It is irrelevant because if you don't show up in these next 5 games, what does it matter? The Marlins have the bragging rights. The Marlins have also never lost a postseason series. You know, they play small ball. They have the ability to score runs. I still think the Braves win, but it's going to be a challenge. So enjoy the series. I will have daily recaps of the games here. I always enjoy talking to you on these live chats and interacting with you. If you're new to this and you're watching this, go ahead, like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell for notifications so you know every time I go live, so that you know every time I do something. And I have, I have a lot of fun doing this. I enjoy interacting with you guys. So if you wanna do more of these, make sure you subscribe. And hey, if you're a regular viewer of these and my other videos, what you need to do is you need to share this. Okay. Now, as we progress throughout the postseason, I will be covering other teams. All right. Probably when it gets down to 8 teams, because 16 is a lot. But when it gets down to 8 teams and we know what we're dealing with in this postseason, I plan to cover other teams. But the Braves are my main focus. So with that said, tell your friends about this. Make them watch it. Okay. Hopefully they'll enjoy it, and we can continue to grow here. This year has been great to me. You guys have helped me grow a lot. This whole thing is kind of new. Being on camera with you guys is sort of a new thing to me, and I've grown a lot. I hope you've enjoyed watching these videos. A lot of hard work's been put in, and I really appreciate it. I can't do this without you. Obviously, I can't do this if nobody's watching. But I wouldn't do it if I didn't really love it. So hopefully we'll be able to continue to grow over the next few years, and the Braves will continue to grow and be successful in the postseason. But that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to get out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And, of course, enjoy the series with the Marlins. I will see you guys Tuesday, probably Wednesday morning, though. So I'll interact with you all throughout Tuesday. Stay tuned for my community page. You'll see discussion posts all throughout the series with the Marlins. And, make sure you hit them up. And let me know what you think about everything going on. That's all I got for today, guys. See you later. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it.